This is the second seminar of the course unit of Operational Management subject. And today, in this seminar, I will hope to discuss you. I will discuss you another very important topic of your course unit. That is work measurement or work study, right? Work study. So, under this session, there are also it has vast area in this under this topic, and you have to learn several subtopics under this work study topic. So another thing is I would like to share with you the knowledge regarding the theories relevant to this topic, as well as the practical problems. That means that some model questions, right? I will discuss with you when explaining how we can apply these theories or these theoretical theories in the practical scenario. So first I would like to move to the the subtopic that is more important one is the job design. So when we talking about or when we are trying to understand the job design, so first you have to know this is highly relevant or this job design also highly based on the workers' activities or the behavior of workers, as well as the productivity. Also, it depends on the productivity of the organization. So then, when we specify the work activities of an individual or group in support of an organization objectives, job design specifies the work activities of an individual or group in support of organization's objective. So you anyone can, like the operational manager, or you can design a job by answering a question such as what is your description? What is your description of the job? Anyone when asking the question is what is your job description and what is the purpose of the job and where is the job done? Who does the job? Likewise, when we answering these type of questions, then we can understand that the answers for all those questions, it means what is job design. So what background, training or skills does an employee need to do the job? It's also another important question. If we can answer the question, what background, training or skills does an employee need to do the job, then also it's explained what is the meaning of the job design. For example, as an example, if one of your company's objective is to establish itself as a leader in customer service, so job must be designed to encourage the reward good customer service practices. In addition, performance management for each job must validate the behavior of that support of company's objective. Anyway, there are three additional factors Another additional factors in job design, such as technical feasibility, economic feasibility, and behavioral feasibility. The technical feasibility of a job is the degree to which an individual or group of individuals is physically and mentally able to do the job. The more demand in the job, the smaller the applicant pool for that job. Suppose your company requires the candidate for a job to be capable of lifting of 250 pounds, okay, or 100 kilos, then few people will qualify for the job. But if the company can reduce the lifting requirement, that means if it is like to the 50 kilograms, many more people will qualify. So good job design eliminates unreasonable requirements that ensure unreasonable environments and ensure that any constraining requirements are necessary to do the job. This in turn expands the applicant pool and gives your company a chance to hire the best candidates on the market. So then economic feasibility means the economic feasibility of a job is the degree to which the value a job adds and the cost of having the job done creates profit for the company. If the job is designed cost more than the value it adds, then it is not economically feasible. So if I take the same example, suppose your company can reduce the job's lifting requirement from a maximum 100 kilos to the maximum 150 kilos because the company can buy material in smaller quantities and pack them in lighter boxes. If the materials are more expensive, however, the company has to consider the higher material cost against the higher labor cost. Choose the alternative that makes more sense economically, or even come up with the third alternative, for example, to hire 2 workers to lift the heavy packages. So then I think it is now you can understand what is the meaning of the economic feasibility, and the last one is behavioral feasibility. Then the behavioral feasibility of a job is the degree to which an employee derives fundamental satisfaction from doing the job. The challenge is to design a job so the worker feels good about doing the job and adds value by doing it. So this present 2 problems. Right? This present 2 problems. First, what motivates one worker may what motivates one worker may not motivate another. Second, someone has to do boring job. So one solution is to provide an enjoyable work environment. So as an example, we can say employees at what is the company? Employees at companies like Google. Companies like Google. So then so in this case So we can take the Google company as an example. The people are like to or scared to work in there. They happy to work in there because their works, they can do their work with the fun. In this case, the fun means working in a place where people can use their talent and skills and work with others in an atmosphere of mutual respect. So then the thing is in here, behavioral feasibility means, so the behavioral feasibility can be explained or defined as the job anyone can do that job with high satisfaction. If anyone can do their job with high satisfaction, then there is a behavioral feasibility. So this is more important. And finally, we can say another concern in job design is another concern in job design is whether or not the job should be automated. So when we can discuss, right? So I will discuss in here. Already I have explained you what is the job design, right? What is the job design? So, and now you know, simply we can say job design specifies the content of the job, right? Contents of the job, and also we have understood 3 additional factors in job design, such as technical, economic, and behavioral feasibility. So then, and now we move to the another needed part, essential part. So let's give me to chance to discuss with you pros and cons of machines versus people in job design. Because when we design in the job, people, we have to consider people, they are more important. But not only that, as well, machines also very, very important, right? We have to consider it's also. So why, when a company consider the technical, economic, and behavioral feasibility of job design, there is one central question, right? A central question is, should the job or some part of it be automated? Obviously, machines do same thing better than people, whereas people do other things better than machines. Both sides will happen. For example, we use calculator to do arithmetic or arithmetic, right? When we need high level of accuracy, we know if we can use the calculator, then we can get very accurate answer. We use a machine when a job might be dangerous sometimes, right? We also use machines to lift or move very heavy objects or very hot objects, or to do objects, or to do simple repetitive tasks, right? So on the other hand, people are vastly superior to machines in a number of activities. Examples are personal interaction with others, creative things, judgment involved, judgments involving multiple variables, expressions of comparison or sympathy, right? Complex operations that may not follow linear logic and teaching. So then using machines versus people is both a tangible economic decision in job design and a decision based on the intangibles such as customers' acceptance. For example, automated voice messaging system are the norm of office today. But to do this automated system, create a favorable impression on the customer. Is it worth the extra expenses to provide the live receptionist? So your customer can talk to a person rather than a machine. When your company makes a decision about machines versus people in job design, support of the company's objective is the deciding factor. If a job is designed for people rather than machine, the next question is how is specified an employee should be. Right? How we can specify that. So then level of labor is specification or level of job is specialization. Right? Level of job specialization is another important important factor we need to consider when designing the job. When we're designing the job, that means the higher the level of specialization, right? Higher the level of specialization, and narrow is the employee's scope of expertise. The professions like medicine, law, academic are highly specialized. However, there are some low-level assembly or service jobs are also specialized. In the professions, work satisfaction is one reason for specialization in particular area of expertise. A doctor who is specialized in heart disease, a lawyer who is specialized in international laws. Another example of professor who is specialized in operations management may do so because of essential satisfaction in the job. So without question, other factors also influence people to enter into particular professional careers. On the other hand, an assembly or service worker whose work is highly specialized often has a monotonous job. So these individuals may have narrowly focused job because their skill levels are limited. Yet specialized assembly and service workers contribute to organizational objectives because they yield high productivity and low unit cost. Consider the assembly worker who inserts 4 bolts into each product. As it passes by one assembly line, the worker is repetitive, but the worker quickly becomes very proficient in that task. So therefore, then we know this level of labor specialization is we have to highly consider, and also it's effective when we design in the job. And next, you can see in my slide, I have given some advantages and disadvantages of specialization in the job design. So you can see here highlight some of the advantage and also disadvantage of using specialization in the job. This table or this graph, yes, this diagram shows that management benefits from specialization because the jobs are narrowly defined, easily learned. So less training is needed. Workers achieve high productivity and wage costs are reasonable. And also this table also shows that the disadvantage of specialization is worker dissatisfaction. So result in the high turnover and absenteeism, high number of grievances filed, and maybe interruption there, right? Should be there. So from the worker's point of view, this type of job design minimizes the education and skill required, requires little mental effort, has minimal job responsibility, and provides reasonably good wage given the skill requirement. The major disadvantage of such job designs are worker monotony. So little room for growth or advancement, little control over the work, and minimal self-fulfillment. In an effort to reduce workers' monotony, a number of behavioral approaches have been suggested. So companies that choose highly specialized job design have several options for reducing worker monotony. So including job enlargement, job enrichment, and job rotation. So therefore, I think it is better if you have to get the knowledge regarding those things. That means what is the job enlargement and job enrichment and job rotation. So job enlargement. It is the horizontal expansion of a job. It is a horizontal expansion of a job. The job designer adds other related tasks to the job. So the worker produces a proportion of the final product that he or she can recognize. For an example, an assembly worker gets to do additional tasks that complete the proportion of the final product, which enables the worker to experience self-importance in the final product. The worker can then point to the final product and take pride in the portion that he or she was responsible for building. By reducing the level of specialization, however, job enlargement may result in some lost productivity compared to what was specified in the original job design. One example of job enlargement concerns employee employee proofreading telephone directory. So rather than proofreading randomly assigned pages, a proofreader is responsible for a specific letter in the alphabet. The proofreader can identify those portions of the directory that he or she proofread. So job enlargement is used to introduce worker self-importance in the final product and give the employee some task variety. And then we can move to the job enrichment. So it is the vertical expansion of the job. Because the job designer adds worker responsibility for work planning or inspection. This allows the workers some control over the workload in terms of scheduling, although not in terms of how much work to do and instills a sense of pride in the worker. We can understand it this way, or suppose that worker know they must complete 100 units of the model A and 50 units of the model B and 150 units from the model C in 1 week. But the sequence is up to them, right? They can do all the C's first, then the B's followed by the A's likewise, and so forth, right? As long as the worker is finished in 1 week, or for an example, workers do their own inspection before the part or product is passed to the next workstation. So this procedure instills pride in the output and has the worker perform tasks usually done at a higher level in the organization. And job rotation also mean the workers shift to different jobs to increase understanding of the total process. So then, therefore, that means the job rotation exposes the worker to their workers to other jobs in the work system. So rotation allows workers to see how the output from their previous assign is used later in the production or service process. So workers see more of the big picture and have a better overall understanding of the work system. In addition, they obtain more skills that may increase their value to the company. In job rotation, provide more flexibility for the company as its workers have upgraded the skills. So then, when we design in the job, these things, right, about the job, that means job enlargement, job enrichment, and job rotation, right, we have to use, right? So then we can move method analysis, right? Method analysis means, so method analysis is the study of how a job is done. Method analysis is the study of how a job is done. So whereas job design shows the structure of the job and means the tasks within the structure, method analysis deals with the tasks and how to do them. So method analysis is used by companies when developing new product or service and for improving the efficiency for method currently in use. So then, however, when method analysis, right? Method analysis consists of the some steps, right? Some steps. So I will explain you the steps, right? Method is the steps already consist in the method analysis. First one is identify the operations to be analyzed. We have to identify the operations to be analyzed, and next need to gather all in the method analysis process, right? As the second step, we need to gather all relevant information about the operation, including tools, materials, and process. Then next, need to talk with employees who use the operation or have used similar operations, and they may have suggestions for improving it. It's allowed to suggest or accept their suggestions also to improve the operation. And chart of operation, whether you are analyzing an existing operation or new operation, also we can do or use. Right? So next we can evaluate each steps in the existing operation or proposed new operation. So does the step add value? Does it only add cost or both? Right. That's okay. And then we can revise the existing or new operations as needed, as requirement. And next, put the received or new operation into effect. Then follow up the changes or new operation. Then also, so do your changes to the existing operation improve or not? You can check it. And also you can check, does your new operation add the company's overall operations, right? All these things you can do, right? As the steps of when you follow, when you study or when you understanding the method analysis, those steps should be, we have to conclude method, we have to include method analysis. And next, so far we have discussed job design and method analysis in detail. And then next we also need to understand the effect of working condition in work productivity and product quality and worker safety. So, you know, temperature and relative humidity, ventilation and lighting, noise level are all factors in work system design. So people work well when the temperature is comfortable, typically. The more energetic, they can work with more energetic. The lower the temperature should be, right? It's the comfortable temperature. And also excessive humidity is uncomfortable for most people and can be unfavorable to some equipment. Too little humidity result in dry air and may create undesirable static charges. So exchanging or filtering the air can prevent the hard air caused by poor ventilation. So inadequate lighting can lead to production mistake and or physical discomfort such as headaches like that. So detailed work normally needs a stronger light. So also high noise level can be distracting and can result in error or accident as well as harm hearing. So, so when we concerning work safety, brought about the performance in 1970 of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, which created an Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So the law was designed to ensure that all workers have healthy and safe working conditions. It mandates specific safety conditions that are inspected randomly by the Act. Right? So violations can result in warnings, fines, right? And or court imposed. Some shutdowns can be happen. Okay. So the law requires the company to ensure a safe working environment for its employees. Therefore, worker safety is the primary concern in work system design. So workplace accidents are usually the result of worker carelessness or workplace hazard. So carelessness is defined as unsafe acts, such as failing to use protective equipment, right, overriding safety controls, disregarding safety procedures, or improperly using tools and equipment, like this. Okay. The workplace hazard include conditions such as unprotected equipment, poor lighting, and poor ventilation. So, another component, right? Another component in work system design, work measurement, right? Work measurement. It is the way work measurement is a way of determining how long it should be take to do a job. That is important thing, right? How long it should be take to do a particular job. So work measurement techniques are used to set a standard time for a specific job. The standard time is the time it should take a qualified operator working at a sustainable pace and using appropriate tools and process to do the job. The standard time is the sustainable time it takes to do either a whole job or a portion of or element of a job. So next, why should a company set the standard time for a job? Why? Why it needed? So companies use standard time for costing, evaluating, and planning. Right? Costing for standard time for costing, evaluating, and planning. When costing a product, a company includes labor in the total cost estimate. So instead of timing the labor or build single unit, companies typically use a standard labor cost. To do this, they multiply the standard labor time by a given hourly labor cost to determine the direct labor content of a product. For example, if a company invests stand hours of labor in building a product and its labor cost is, just think, right, rupees 220 per hour, then the stand labor content is 140 hours, 160 per unit, right? This does not mean each unit has exactly three hours of labor spent on it. So some units will have slightly more labor content and others will have slightly less. Thus, the company estimate that it should take 3 hours of labor to build that product. For pricing purposes, the company charges 3 labor hours of content in each unit. So then standard time allows companies to evaluate new product proposal, the use of new materials and equipment, new process or technique for building a product, and individual operator proficiency. The standard time provides a benchmark for companies to use when evaluating their alternatives. And other one is the performance. So if the standard time shows that the worker should produce, as an example, suppose, right, if the standard time shows that the worker should produce 96 units per 8-hour shift, a supervisor can then track the worker's performance and see whether that worker is matching the standard time, reach the standard time. If a worker fails to match the standard time or reach the standard time, the company should provide training to improve the worker performance. And planning also should be there So we know the standard times allow also, no, standard time also help a company to plan, right? Help to company to help a company to plan. If you know how long it takes to do a job and how often that job is repeated, you can plan your workload from that job. If suppose if an operation takes point 3 standard hours of labor and you need 1,000 of these operations to complete a job, then you need 300 standard hours to complete the job, because then we can get that value when multiplying 1,000 by the point 3. So this information allows you to make workload forecast, plan the job needed, plan the not the job, plan the labor needed, and schedule the work. If you know how long a job should take, you know how long your resource will be busy with that job before you can start the next job. So with this knowledge, you can schedule jobs and promise viable delivery dates to your customer. So among the commonly used process for setting standard times are the time study. The time study, elementary time data, predetermined time data, and work sampling. The time study dates back to, Frederick Taylor in the late 19th century, right? He is the founder of that one. And next, next one is how to do a time study, right? So time study, we know now what's the time study, and this how we can do this time study. So as the very simply we can say the time study sets a standard time based on time observations of one employee taken over a number of cycles, right? One employee taken over a number of cycles. The cycle includes all the elements of the job. Thus, this standard time is applied to all workers doing the job. So this table, you can see this table or this chart or table. No? This table shows the step in the time study. So what are they? Step 1, you need to choose, that's the procedure for a time study. No? Choose the job for the time study. Next, you need to tell the worker whose job will be studying. Break the job into easily recognized units, elements, or parts. So calculate the number of cycles you must observe. Time each element, record the time, and rate the worker's performance. Compute normal time, compute standard time. Right? So that is the procedure for time study. Shall we look how we can do these steps, right? Just I will explain to you that. So this step 1, that is the choose the job for a time study. As an individual, you set standards for yourself based on the tasks that are typically of your workday. The same is true for your company. You base standard time on the routine, labor incentive job rather than one of job. So use this criteria for choosing your time study job in step 1 as step 1. And step 2, have to tell the workers whose job you will be studying. So it is also important to inform the employee in advance that you will be making a time study for the job. Be sensitive to how the employee will feel as your time performance. Then step 3, break the job into easily recognized units. That mean to need to break a job down, break a job down into easily recognized elements. Think about making a hand. And fourth step, calculate the number of cycles you must observe. So then, when making a time study, you need to know how many cycles, so how many times you must observe the worker to ensure the results you want. So the number of cycles is a function of the variability of observed times, the desired level of accuracy or precision, and the described level of confidence for the estimated standard time. We often express the desired accuracy level as a percentage of mean observed times. For example, we might want an accuracy level so that the standard time is within 10% or the true mean of time it takes to do the job. And next step, that means step 5th one, time each element, record the time and rate the worker's performance, right? So before explaining this one, you need to understand some basic or fundamental required things, right? That means you have to understand some phase of words, the meaning of the phase of words, right? So one is performance rating factor, right? So you have to know what is the performance rating factor, otherwise you can't do the first 5th step. That means you can't record the time, you can't record the time, you can't rate the worker's performance without knowing this one. Therefore, first I will explain this one for, so the performance rating factor is, this one, right? This deal with the setting a normalized standard time based on observed times. The observed work phase may be average, above average or below average. As the time study analysis, you must make a judgment about the work phase of the observed worker in terms of how far from the average is it. How far from the average is it? So think, right? This is a factor of 1 for the performance rating factor. This is the performance rating factor is 1. If a factor is 1 represent an average work phase, any performance rating below 1 is any performance rating below 1 is a below average work phase. A performance rating of above 1 is an above average work phase. So another thing is, a performance rating is an attempt to counterbalance, right? Counterbalance any unusual patterns noted in the worker's performance. For any element in which the worker performs below average, the worker may need additional training to improve efficiency. If it's not uncommon, if it is not uncommon for workers to work faster than normal when they are observed, or in some cases to work more slowly than normal when they are observed. The performance rating is used to develop a standard that is fair to the worker and to the company. And another thing is frequency of occurrence, right? So you have to know frequency of occurrence to rate the worker's performance, right? That means to do the fifth step. So this frequency of occurrence is one of factor to consider when calculating the time span is the frequency of occurrence, right? For each work element. So we expect most elements to be done every cycle. So they work. So they would have a frequency of occurrence equal to 1. So however, some elements are not done each cycle. So we adjust the frequency accordingly. If an element is done every other cycle, it would have a frequency equal to 0.5 or on average. Half of it is done each cycle. If an element is done once every 5 cycles, right, that means if the frequency equals the 0.2. So we calculate the frequency of occurrence by dividing 1 by the number of cycles between occurrence. That means 1 divided by 10 cycles between occurrence, meaning that frequency equal to 0.1. Right? We will do this later with the example. Right? So then another one, next step is compute normal time. That is more important one. So we compute the normal time for each work element by multiplying the mean observed time by the performance rating factor by the frequency of occurrence. So we use the normal time, right? The notation we use for that normal time NT NT is normal time, and we need to multiply the mean observed time, right, by the performance rating factor. Right, performance rating factor, I put here PR, right, performance rating factor, and again you need to multiply it by the frequency, right, වාර කීයකට. මේ තුනම එකට වැඩි කරලා තමයි අපිට cycle time එක එතන එන්නේ. Right? Normal time එක එතන එන්නේ, right? Not the cycle time, normal time, right? So remember that the performance rating factor is cost and the frequency of occurrence must be known for you to calculate the normal time. The normal time for preparing a large, so as an example, right? So we can understand this through the example, right? Anyway, when we calculate in the normal time, right? So no, because we know the normal time reflects how long it may take to produce one single unit, right? One unit. So however, it does not allow for personal time, right? Unavoidable delays, or another one is fitting, right? So then therefore we adjust the normal time with an allowance factor, right? When adjusting allowance factor, we have to get the normal time. So allowance factor can be personal time, right? So unavoidable delays, likewise. So this affects how much an employee can produce during the day. So there are two methods, right? There are two main methods can be used to convert the job's normal time into the job's standard time. So within the first method, we know the allowance, personal or with the first method, the how we can do this one. So normally when we saw the this normal time reflect how long it make it to the produce one single unit. So we say, or we know it does not allow for the personal time, right? So then during the typical work day, personal time or unavoidable delays during the typical day. So therefore that's why we say we adjust the normal time with an allowance factor. So in first method, we do it based on the individual jobs and worker does throughout the day, right? So this is typically used when workers perform several different types of jobs, with some of the jobs more delays than others, and other jobs having long unavoidable delays. So in this case, the amount of output expected must take into account the actual jobs performed by the worker. So then you can see in here, I have given you some example. Right? So I'll show you it. Okay. So we can show this one is with this notation, right? AF. So we can put in here AF time worked, right? Time work, that means the job, right? So AF, I put here job in down, right? Equal to 1 plus PFD, right? 1 plus PFD means, where PFD means percentage allowance adjustment based on the individual job, PFDE, right? The other in that method, then we know AF equal to, right, 1 plus percentage allowance of adjustment based on the individual job. Then other method is used when all the different jobs and employees are similar, having the same allowance for factor. So we can compute this allowance factor AF. We can put job work time work. Right? I put here time work equal 1 divided by 1 minus PFD. Right? Here PFD means percentage allowance adjustment based on the individual job. Right? And remember in here, right? Allowance factor, right? Allowance factor should equal to, total allowance factor should be equal to 1 plus percentage allowance adjustment, right? Percentage allowance adjustment. So So this then in the fifth stage, no, sixth stage, right? So in sixth stage, you have to, in this fifth stage, explain how to compute normal time. So now you know how to compute normal time, and in the seventh, finally, we can compute the standard time. So when calculating the standard time, we need to this factor. That means the factor means the allowance factor, right? Allowance factor we have to know, because we can find out the standard time when dividing average time, dividing average time by the available time ratio. This available time ratio means 1 minus PFD. Okay, PFD. So now that we know how to calculate the allowance factor, let's know the standard time equal the normal time multiplied by the allowance factor. Multiplied by the allowance factor. So another thing in here, shall I move to the next slide? So I want to see something new. Yes. Yes, step 7, last step. Now we talk, right? So elemental data time. So this is the elemental data time is another important thing we have to understand before understanding the final step. The final step that is calculating the standard time, right? Standard time. So element time data means after your organization performs, right? Or after your company performs and validates time studies, it stores those accepted time studies in an elemental time database for possible future users, right? Future use. So many jobs consist of the same work elements. For example, in any jobs, the operator has to reach the materials, position and time, or insert specific things. So instead of recalculating the time it should take to do a particular work element, the time study analysis checks the database. Can use the information already in the database for a valid time study. If the company has already done a time study for the work element, the analyst use it in the standard time for the job. When a time study analysis use standard element time, the procedure is the procedure should be number of steps also, right? And the procedure also should be number of steps. I will explain it to you. So need to identify the standard element. First, need to identify the standard element of job. Then need to check the database for time studies done on these elements. If no valid studies exist for this or similar work element, do a time study for the new work element as it new one, right? So the next need to adjust the database time if needed. Note that you can adjust database times if the work element is slightly different. Otherwise, no need to do it, right? Then suppose the database has time studies on reaching the shall I make one example? Suppose the database had time studies on teaching 6 inches for a tool and teaching 12 inches for a tool. Right? But for the job you are studying, the operator is 9 inches for the tool, right? Indifferent between 6 and 12. So instead of developing a new time study, you can interpret between the two values and derive a reasonable time for reaching 9 meters. Right? So then finally you can add the element time to determine the normal time, then multiplying by the allowance factor of determining the standard time. So those things you can do. So now one more thing I would like to remind you. So then an advantage of using standard element time is that you need fewer time. You need fewer time studies, right? So that's why we use standard element times. Using standard elemental time, right? Is that you need fewer time studies. The result of each time study go into the database and are available for setting future database time. Future, not the database, future standard times, right? So also using standard elemental times, elemental time eliminates the workplace disruptions caused by making time studies. So the disadvantage is that using standard elements may discourage new process. Is it obvious? Discourage new process development and improvement. So anyway, right? Most of the companies or organizations are followed this process to confirm or to identify the standard time for particular tasks or particular job already in the company, and also this also they used to calculating their wages, right? Workers' wages, right? So because the when we paying them, when company paying to workers based on their production, number of output, right? So then they have to calculate per day output of each worker, right? Per day output of each worker. So then calculating per day outputs of worker, they want to or they have to know what is the standard time for particular job, which is doing by the workers in that particular company. So then, yes.